You know what? It's so funny actually, guys, but so many times I start thinking about, did my team made a reservation in my favorite place? And I was like, I think there is nothing like when you call someone like champion, when you hear the champion, it's like, how can I actually complain about anything? Like if you won.
For a player who wasn't even expected to be in the main draw, there were thousands of Filipino flags, crowded stands, and a shout that nobody in Linz, Austria anticipated. Germany hasn't even begun yet, so that was only a warm-up. On April 13th, Alex Ayala travels to Stuttgart for the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be back. Can't wait to be out on court and I hope to see you there.
And this tournament has never seen anything like the excitement that is now growing inside that arena. Only because Olympic champion Qinwen Zhang withdrew due to injury did a 20-year-old from Manila, placed 45th, qualify for the main draw. Nevertheless, her appearance was advertised by Stuttgart's own organizers as a headline performance rather than a substitute player. You should be able to infer something from that detail alone. This is where Aryna Sabalenka, the uncontested world #1 and 4-time Stuttgart finalist, comes into play. It was confirmed that the woman who has dominated this tournament's talk for years would not be attending the 2026 Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. Former ATP pros Sams were gone, and weeks before Stuttgart ever started. Ayala already attracts larger numbers than Sabalenka and Goff combined, according to public declarations made by Query and Steve Johnson. The tennis world fell silent when Sabalenka heard it. It's not even close to being speechless. You will be absolutely shocked by what occurs within Stuttgart this week, so subscribe today. So how did Ayala make Germany greet her like never before, to the point where even Sabalenka was at a loss for words? Let's begin with the point at which the tennis community began to focus on something far more fascinating rather than rankings. Since its founding in 1978, the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart has had 48 editions, with champions like Navratilova, Hingis, Sharapova, Kerber, and Barty leaving their mark on the history of women's tennis. There has never been a lack of star power in this event, and it has never had trouble filling seats or making headlines. However, in 2026, something changed that no one on the WTA calendar had anticipated. Knowing that a shift necessitates a return. Of course. Additionally, before you can participate in elite sports, you must go through a particular stepladder. Thus, it actually begins in high school. Not to Stuttgart, not even to Germany, but to one afternoon in March 2025 in Miami, Florida. Ayala, a 19-year-old junior prodigy who was not well known outside of Philippine tennis circles, was ranked outside of the top 60 and has been quietly growing at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca since 2018. Then there was Miami. She took the drawer apart. Ayala dominated one of the WTA's most competitive fields match after match and opponent after opponent. Naturally, we must highlight Alex, Ayala, and the amazing fandom that is spreading over the world, particularly from the Filipino community. She became the first Filipina in history to advance to the WTA 1000 semifinals. Before that semifinal, her coach drew her aside and said, "Alex, you're in the semifinals of a Masters, in Miami nonetheless, and you're playing for a spot to play against the #1 in the world," which she later reiterated in public. Jessica Pegula defeated her in that semi-final. However, the harm, or more accurately, the awakening, had already been done. Overnight, Filipino fans all around the world mobilized. Social media took off. Traffic quickly overtook broadcasts that had been playing to a respectable audience. Ayala's matches were held on courts that were exclusively used as standing rooms. Although there had previously been fervent fan bases in the tennis world, this one was distinct in terms of texture, scale, and global distribution. In February 2026, former American professional Steve Johnson made it clear on the Nothing Major podcast. Ayala was drawing crowds in a manner similar to that of Brazilian phenomenon João Fonseca in the men's division. Before Germany, courts were so packed with activity that even impartial onlookers tuned in just to take in the mood. This is something worth pondering for a while. Ayala was ranked 45th in the world when she replaced Qinwen Zhang in the Stuttgart main draw. Her career-high ranking of 29th had been reached 2 weeks prior during an incredible run through the early 2026 hardcourt season. 1 year after losing to Karolina Muchova. She was eliminated again by Miami in the round of 16. A 45th ranked player joining a WTA 500 competition as a late replacement is a footnote by standard tennis logic. A convenient time slot. The type of entry that only receives one line in the draw announcement. Well, another physical struggle both on and off the court, but the organizers in Stuttgart did not handle it that way. Fans may now anticipate Alexandra taking over, according to their official social media post announcing Ayala's induction. It was a conscious decision to frame her appearance as something fans should anticipate. German fans reacted appropriately since tournament officials used that wording for draws rather than footnotes. Almost soon after the announcement, the Filipino diaspora in Europe, which had previously organized for Ayala's matches in Linz just days earlier, started organizing attendance for Stuttgart. Bags for the Porsche Arena were filled with the identical flags that filled the Austrian Design Center. This is how it truly seems in practice, like never before. It's not fake excitement. For the first time in her career, this player is standing on German territory thanks to a sincere, spontaneous, cross-continental fan movement. Let's now discuss the aspect of this that actually causes the establishment discomfort. Stuttgart wasn't something Aryna Sabalenka merely missed. She had 4 runner-up results in a tournament that she missed. She has made it to the Porsche Arena final 4 times, but each time she left without the trophy or the Porsche 911 Carrera S Cabriolet that goes to the winner. She was most recently denied by Jelena Ostapenko, who defeated her in the 2025 final. Stuttgart is a symbol of unresolved issues for Sabalenka. Perhaps the most important competition she hasn't won on the European clay circuit is this one. Therefore, her absence in 2026 is not a small scheduling issue. There is a void in her quest for her legacy. Here's the dimension, though, that is more profound. Although Sabalenka is not present, her unresolved business at this site has not been the topic of discussion in the tennis media in the weeks preceding Stuttgart. The question has been whether Ayala, a player Sabalenka has never even faced on the court, has already overtaken her as the sport's most alluring attraction. We're worn out. Indeed. She is the face of the Philippines, which is why we like her. Steve Johnson was directly questioned by Sam Querrey on their podcast. Is she larger than Sabalenka? Is she larger than Coco? Johnson needed just one word to respond. In tennis circles, such response, which was given without hesitation or qualification, landed like a grenade. Johnson is not a commentator who is paid to stir up controversy. He is a former member of the world's top 10 and has spent years touring, so he knows what true crowd charisma looks like from the inside out. A social media hot take doesn't have the same weight as his opinion. John Eisner reaffirmed it in a different way. He cited the unexplored potential of the Philippine market, a country of more than 100 million enthusiastic athletes that had never seen a true star play women's tennis at the top level. According to Eisner, the women's side of the game now has a star. If they also had a men's star, it would be the same. This suggests that Ayala is not the only one involved. This is about a whole country finding a representative on the largest platforms in the globe. And the excitement that results from that is unmatched by the established fan base of a single nation. Goff is from the United States, Swiatek is from Poland, and Sabalenka is from Belarus. There are 100 million individuals in Ayala who have been anticipating this for decades. That's the maths that makes the establishment dumbfounded. But there is a real tension that needs to be addressed openly. Ayala is not an expert at clay courts. Safeguarded. More of them are required. You are aware of how challenging prison life is for both inmates and wardens. Hard courts played a major role in her rapid ascent in 2025 and 2026. Indian, Miami, and Dubai. These were the surfaces on which she made her declaration, Wells. Clay is a whole other story. She defeated Julia Grabhardt of Austria 6-4, 6-3 to start her 2026 clay season in Linz. Composed, efficient, and in control. Then Ostapenko showed up for the second round. The 2017 French Open champion, the reigning Stuttgart champion, plays clay with such intensity that even opponents in the top 10 are unnerved. Ayala fell 6-4, 7-5 despite leading 4-2 in the first set and 5-1 in the second. In context, that outcome is significant. It means that rather than coming into Stuttgart riding high, Ayala is coming off a loss that revealed actual weaknesses. There are a lot of things that make me feel at home that I didn't anticipate. Ostapenko has a psychological advantage going into this competition because he is also in the Stuttgart draw. Ayala currently has a 2-1 advantage in their head-to-head match. However, Ostapenko is aware that she has already solved the clay puzzle. Ayala admitted that her physical preparation for these opponents is still ongoing. She was asked directly by a UTA interviewer in Miami how she gets ready for guys who are stronger or larger. Her response was very frank. One could contend that everything I do is an attempt to get ready for those players. I'm still working on strengthening myself. At 20, that kind of self-awareness is uncommon, but it doesn't help you defeat Grand Slam champions in indoor clay tennis matches. Outcomes do. Stuttgart thus offers Ayala a true turning point in her life. Regardless, the crowds will be present. There will be waving Filipino flags. From the moment she steps onto the court, the atmosphere will be electrifying, but in the end, tennis requires the player on the baseline to make up for the noise in the fans. Ayala has the opportunity to demonstrate at this tournament that the fan base that follows her is more than simply great theater. It is the setting for a legitimate competitor. Stuttgart is more than simply another location on the clay swing for tournaments. It bridges early clay, adaptability, and the serious Roland Garros training that the Madrid Open offers. It is scheduled between Linz and Madrid. Every game at Stuttgart has compounded worth for a player who is still getting her bearings. However, Germany stands for something more than just tactics for Ayala in particular. This is her first appearance in Germany. This is her first performance in front of a European audience that has been groomed by months of viral moments, podcast declarations, and diaspora coordination to welcome her at a level that this tournament has truly never seen before. It performs quite well, and I believe there are a number of things that make her opponents uneasy. Some of the most adored players in WTA history have participated in the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. German spectators are well-informed, enthusiastic, and devoted to the game. For athletes who haven't earned it on the court, they don't create excitement. However, the terminology used by the tournament to describe Ayala's entry indicated that they expected something unusual. Now, that expectation sits at the crossroads of the oldest in the sport. Queries. Is the player able to keep up with the moment? Is the story justified by the talent? When a 45th ranked Filipina records the entire exchange while Sabalenka watches from the sidelines, missing a competition she has attempted and failed to win 4 times, the quiet must be overwhelming. That was really disheartening to me. That is exactly what this video's title refers to. It's not a quote, it's not a response at a press conference, but the specific, inevitable silence that occurs when you watch someone else take up the space you created and realize that the crowd didn't even look up when you left. Ayala is drawn with Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, Iga Swiatek, Jasmine Paolini, Mira Andreeva, Karolina Muchova, and reigning champion Ostapenko in the Stuttgart draw. There is a chance for a statement match in every round. Every victory would have an impact that went beyond the scoreboard. Ayala's trajectory would be affected in a way that no hard-court outcome has yet truly accomplished by a deep run here, in the quarterfinals, semifinals, or beyond. Would indicate that efforts are being made to mitigate the clay vulnerability. Instead of projecting hope, it would give her name real credibility in Roland Garros debates. Older people are far behind. And it would take place in Germany, in front of audiences who greeted her in a manner never witnessed in this competition, on a platform that Sabalenka herself was unable to win 4 times. The narrative virtually writes itself flawlessly. Because tennis has a way of making well-written stories seem humble. That was already demonstrated by Ostapenko in Linz. Flag counts, podcast statements, and diaspora movements don't matter to red clay. Against opponents who have dedicated their careers to mastering the surface, it rewards timing, footwork, physical superiority, and the capacity to create points under duress. Ayala and her staff are aware of this. The Rafa Nadal Academy training block she finished prior to this clay swing was deliberate preparation for these circumstances. Over the next 7 days, Stuttgart will determine whether or not that preparedness is adequate. The flags of the Philippines are already Linz's feelings, and more will soon be revealed to the Porsche Arena. Germany is prepared. Whether Ayala is prepared for Germany is the only unanswered question. Subscribe today if this analysis offered you a viewpoint on the Stuttgart story that you haven't seen elsewhere. As this clay season approaches Roland Garros, hit the notification bell to ensure you don't miss the match breakdowns, the responses to the results, and the in-depth analysis. The perspectives that the mainstream tennis community ignores are covered by this channel. This is one that you won't want to catch up on later.